I'd rather not. For this particular show at Tiger Stadium, everybody's stage entrance was different from all the other shows. 50. I know y'all know the infamous Mobb Deep, right? Crab. 50. Well, check this out. Havoc and I came out from both sides of the stage and started Quiet Storm. It was crazy. Tiger Stadium looked gigantic. I had flashbacks from when Pops kidnapped me and we lived in Detroit. We used to go to the Tigers games, and now I was performing there. 1 minute into Haz's verse, he suddenly disappeared from my peripheral vision, and I didn't hear him rapping anymore. Oh! The crowd said at the same time, like something bad just happened. I looked to my right and saw Havoc holding on for his life inside the elevator hole on stage that 50 had risen out of during his entrance. The stage production crew had left it open by mistake. One of the stagehands ran out to try to help him, but Havoc lifted himself out real quick, mic still in hand. I'm all right, he said, and we kept performing. I knew Hav was a little embarrassed, but he snapped right back. After Detroit, we went back home to New York, and Shady added one last show at Madison Square Garden. The Garden show was special for us, the way that Tiger Stadium was for Shady. While we were on stage performing Shook Ones, I looked to the left of the front row and saw Nicole Kidman going crazy with her hands in the air dancing to our music. I was shocked. She was with the men's magazine model, Vita Guerra. That was the highlight of the concert for us. During a short break, before I went back on tour, Kiki found a new townhouse development in New Jersey for $780,000. Our last house was almost $300,000 less. But since we made the G-Unit deal, I figured it would be safe to buy the spot and pay it off quickly with our tour money. At the tail end of August 2005, we flew to London to start the Massacre European tour. It was time for my son Shaka to start school again, so he had to stay home. 40 Glock and Twin came along. In London, our tour bus met us at the Ritz-Carlton. We had to share our bus with MOP for this leg of the tour. Get Rich or Die Trying, the movie, was premiering in London the night we arrived, so we got real spiffy for the red carpet. Hundreds of paparazzi cameras and fans lined up as we made our entrance. 50 pulled me to the side before we left the hotel. When you see cameras, make sure you're right next to me. I want Mobb Deep to benefit from all this promotion, he said. So that's what I did. Mace was with us overseas too. On the red carpet, Mace ran past everybody to stand next to 50 for the paparazzi pictures and interviews. It wasn't my style to knock people out the way and fight to stand next to 50, or anybody for that matter, for a picture like a male groupie. Man, listen, I'll just catch the next picture. After the movie that night, one of 50's super rich friends, Amir, threw a party at his mansion in downtown London. Wait till you see Amir's crib in London. This nigga is stupid rich. 50 had been telling me throughout the tour. These rappers out here think they got money? These niggas ain't got shit. Amir had 100 of the baddest broads in London at his spot for the party. Non-stop glasses of champagne and free drinks all night. Jim Sheridan, the director of Get Rich or Die Trying, came to the after party with us. He's Irish, and when I told him I was part Irish, he talked to me a lot after that. We were having so much fun, I found myself doing a sandwich dance with some chick and Jim Sheridan. The whole time, 50 kept it strictly professional, standing in a casual suit, holding the same glass of champagne for hours, and chatting with everybody that approached him. It was impressive to see him not lose his focus amongst all that foolishness. After a while, 50 called me outside to the front of the house, where he and Amir were standing. I want to show you something, he said. Amir pressed a hidden button, and the whole cobblestone entrance of his house started going down like an elevator, revealing an underground garage with 20 exotic cars. After about 30 spilled drinks and 80 broken champagne glasses, party was over, and we went back to the Ritz. Following London, we went to Germany, Scotland, Ireland, France, and Italy. Same shit every night. Movie premiere, concert, after party. As I was packing my bag to head to Italy, my Uncle Lenny called. My grandmother had just died. Bernice Johnson, the original HNIC. She was 92. The last time I saw her was in 2002 or 2003, when I took my kids to visit her for Christmas at her new house in Cold Spring Harbor, Huntington, Long Island. She had Alzheimer's disease, and it seemed as if she didn't recognize me or the kids. It was weird. She still looked healthy and happy, though. Ever since I was 13 years old, I had been running the streets hard trying to pursue my music career. From ages 6 to 15, my grandmother would sit me down and taught me how she built her business from nothing into something tremendous. But after my grandmother's business grew big, problems started to surface. She was used to doing everything herself and being the HNIC, but her business became so successful that it was too overwhelming for her to run it on her own. Grandmoms hired a handful of her closest girlfriends in key positions, but most of them tried to take advantage of her and manipulate situations for their own benefit. That taught me to never hire friends. She started making bad business decisions. A few family members stepped in to help get things back in order. And even though their intentions were good, that was another error. Family could be worse than friends in that situation. She needed to hire qualified professionals. Dwindling clients, constant changes in music, fashion, and dance trends, plus IRS problems. At the end of the day, what was left was an untended business and serious debt. My mother and a couple of other ladies who grew up in my grandmother's dance school, like Carrie Edge and Ashanti's mother Tina, wanted me to step in and gain control of the business when I was around 24 back in 1998. But I was busy building a career and life of my own. My Uncle Lenny came to live with my grandmother in 1989 to help her with everything. I was so caught up in my own world back then, I figured Uncle Lenny knew what he was doing. Grandmoms was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease around 1995, and Uncle Lenny took care of her along with my grandmother's close friend and dance student, Wesley. Chaka, your grandmother told me that all of her money, homes, and her building are going to you when she passes away, my mother told me. I don't want anybody trying to swindle all of your inheritance. You need to hire an inheritance lawyer and make sure you're getting what is rightfully yours. But when I would go visit, Uncle Lenny seemed like he was doing an excellent job. He took care of my grandmoms extremely well. Lenny told me that he was concentrating on saving the 3 homes and that he would make sure they were left for me to own later in life. I really didn't care about inheritance. I just loved my grandmother. To me, that was my grandmom's life, not mine's. I'd get my own. I had to focus on my career, and if I inherited any of my grandmother's things, that would be a blessing that I would cherish and pass on to my children. When grandmoms died, I was hurt, but I knew she lived a full life. I wasn't concerned at all about what she left behind for me, if there was anything at all. I let Uncle Lenny handle that stuff, and I never mentioned it to him. I don't know what ended up happening with her estate. I left it in the hands of the Most High. That day, we flew in 50's G5 to Italy. Plush leather, marble, and gold trimming. As soon as we got to the Ritz-Carlton in Rome, I called Mobb Deep's Italian engineer Steve Sola in New York to tell him that we were in his hometown and ask him where we can get some authentic chicken parmesan. Anywhere, he said. It's Italy. but most of the restaurants we tried looked at us with disgust and acted as if they didn't want to serve us because we were black. 50's hotel room was connected to ours, and we left the doors open to walk in and out of each other's rooms. We could see the Coliseum from our window. 50 was eating a huge bowl of shrimp spaghetti. He must have seen me scoping it and seen the hunger in my face because he offered me a bowl. That shrimp spaghetti was good as hell. 50 and I had a long talk after we ate about how stupid a lot of the fans were for believing Jay-Z when he tried to discredit me. If the fans who sided with Jay knew you personally, P, they would love you, 50 said. But fans only go off what they hear. Jay-Z just manipulated the fans' perception of you. But they don't know the real. Perception is powerful. That next night, Alchemist and I got our hands on some strong hash weed. While we were smoking in our hotel room, we were making fun of all the rappers who don't say anything meaningful in their music. So I started freestyling my own version of a meaningless verse about how they call hash shit in France. To makes me a hit, I smokes me a block of shit, then I gets in the zone of Al Capone. I was high as hell, repeating the rhyme over and over, adding more to it. Alchemist was cracking up. But that stupid-ass freestyle ended up being a real song. That Go with Keek the Sneak, a rapper from the Bay Area. 50 was on some military shit with his crew. The way I had been in the house in Long Island when my boys thought I was crazy. I knew what it took to succeed and was around a bunch of knuckleheads who didn't share my vision. I saw a lot of my character in 50. His moves were calculated and his mind was sharp. He inspired me to snap back into position. But it wasn't easy now that I had been blinded by the limelight and luxurious lifestyle. I was overindulgent with drugs, alcohol, jewelry, cars, women, publicity. The evil bastard inside of me was turning into a real monster. Yo, what the fuck are you doing? I'd ask myself. Stop it, man. But it was hard to snap out of it. 50 would tell me, all you need to do is get your health and your body in shape and you'll be unstoppable. Havoc started swimming in liquor like a tequila worm. Even worse, Hav seemed like he wasn't enthusiastic about the music industry anymore. It was just a job. Alchemist and the rest of us would constantly try to cheer him up and remind him that he was the best in the business. But he was soon back to acting depressed, destroying every hotel minibar and leaving behind $600 hotel bills for 50 at checkout time. We gave him the nickname Mr. Minibar because he would drink all the liquor in his room, then come to my room and scheme on my minibar liquor. At first, I'd think, wow, Hav came to kick it with me. 5 minutes later, he would discreetly make his way to my minibar, then leave the room. He did that to everybody on tour, including 50. Havoc and I were both fucking up in our own ways. Our last stop on the international run of the Massacre Tour was in a super-rich, tiny, sovereign state called Monaco, at the south of France. Before Monaco, we stopped at a hotel on the water in Marseille, where you could see Morocco, Africa, right across the ocean. This is beautiful. I would love to bring Kiki to this spot, I thought. An hour away in Monaco, we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton and shot the window shopper video outside by the shops, restaurants, and casino. After the shoot, Alchemist, 40 Glock, Twin, and I went to the casino to play craps. They wouldn't let you in without a button-down shirt, and you couldn't get excited and shout when you won. The whole casino was quiet like a fucking library. Shh, people are gambling. Way too bougie for me. We got out of there quick. It was back to America. We did about 15 more shows in the United States and a bunch of movie premieres. Then it was finally over. It felt good to sit the fuck down and relax for a split second. Havoc and I swapped cars every so often. Hav had a lot of fly cars. A black-on-black 4.6 Range, a black-on-black G-Wagon Benz truck, a yellow and black Lamborghini, a white GT3 Porsche, a silver 750 BMW, and a black Cadillac truck. Hav let me borrow the Lamborghini one day. And oh my God, that's the fastest car I ever drove besides my turbo. While we were finishing our Blood Money album, I got cool with another one of the jewelers who came around trying to get cool with 50. Look, I'll say your name in my first single and video if you give me $150,000 worth of jewels for $30,000, I offered. And he agreed. I had at least $250,000 worth of diamond jewelry at that time that I only paid like $80,000 for. Being around 50, Banks, and Yayo made me feel like I had to step my shine up, and I did. Slowly, I started to realize that jewelry was played out, and I wanted to start a new trend of not wearing it at all. Yo, I ain't rocking chains no more, I told 50 and Yayo one day. But they disagreed. P, everybody knows you for your 40-inch chain. You started that. You can't switch up now because the kids are going to think you're broke if you ain't got no chain on. They insisted, so I agreed. But I felt a drastic change coming, and I knew I was going to start a new trend. No jewelry at all. For the time being, I kept the jewels on and wore the rapper costume. Uncle Lenny set up a big funeral service celebrating my grandmother at LaGuardia High School in Manhattan, aka the High School of Performing Arts. My mother and I went together. The place was jam-packed with old friends, family, familiar faces, and faces I couldn't even remember, plus strangers. My man Roger, Craig's mother, Aunt Cheryl, JM's grandparents, Ashanti and her moms, Tina, Carrie Edge and her sisters and mother, Ben Vereen, and so many others. People performed dance routines, and Ben Vereen spoke, along with other close family friends. They wanted me to speak, but I wasn't in the mood. I just wanted to enjoy my grandmother's celebration with my moms. After the service, I got tired of everybody at the reception coming up to me saying, "Oh, I remember when you was a little boy," and "I remember when you was born." So I went outside to smoke a cigarette with Carrie, Aunt Cheryl, and Roger, who doesn't smoke. Then Tina and Ashanti walked out with bodyguards as if they were concerned about their safety. It looked strange. They said hi and bye and then bounced. Maybe they felt some kind of way about the Irv Gotti and Jay-Z photo situation. That's definitely how Jay-Z got that picture, I thought. Maybe they felt some kind of way because I was down with 50 Cent and G-Unit now. 50 had been dissing Ja Rule and Ashanti. Oh well, whatever. Thinking about all the lives and people my grandmother inspired was amazing. Bernice Johnson helped show countless people, especially black women, how to become successful in whatever they wanted to do in life. She's responsible for Mobb Deep learning how to produce beats. I got the name Head Nigga in Charge from her. She's the reason I never suffered from stage fright after that Diana Ross incident in Central Park. I love and miss you, grandmas. Blood Money was finished in less than 2 months. 50 was excited. Our first single, Put 'Em in Their Place, got placed in a big movie called Stomp the Yard. For some reason, a lot of people seem to think that 50 created that album for us, saying things like, "That album is too G-Unit," or "There's too much 50 influence in that album." But Mobb Deep controlled all the decision-making and production, and I designed the album cover concept. Us at the table, filled with piles of cash, like we just robbed a bank. Magazines and radio personalities were printing articles and making comments saying, Blood Money sales stalled at 300,000 copies. Seems like Mobb Deep lost their fan base. But the album went gold. 500,000 copies sold. People in the streets were saying, Mobb Deep fell off. Prodigy sucking 50 Cent. Jay-Z destroyed Mobb Deep's career. And Prodigy hasn't been the same since Summer Jam. But all that girly mouth talk was hollow. One of the songs we recorded for Blood Money, Pearly Gates, ended up being the most controversial. The subject matter deals with growing up in a criminal environment and participating in its illegal activities, while at the same time struggling with the moral and spiritual consequences of those choices. Will we go to hell for our actions, or is there indeed a heaven for us if we pray for forgiveness? As a youth, I had conflicting views about religion and God, mainly because of my struggle with sickle cell pain. I used to think, if God is real, then why does God allow me to suffer so much? My verse on Pearly Gates was my way of venting frustration about what I believed to be a corrupt system of organized religion. At that time, I had came to the conclusion that all the good people of this world, especially my black people, had been made to take part in religious rituals and pray to a God that's not ours. A song is only about 3 minutes, and having only one of those minutes to get your point across in a verse isn't easy. So I must admit, I did a terrible job trying to articulate my point on that track. I offended a lot of fans and turned a lot of people off with my choice of words in the explicit version of that song. The legal department at Interscope Records actually refused to release the album unless I changed some of the lyrics. They told me I couldn't use the words God or Jesus. I was outraged at first. That's a violation of my constitutional rights. But instead of making a big deal out of it and delaying the Mobb Deep album, I went ahead and changed it. G-Unit set up a Blood Money album release party at the Roxy in downtown Manhattan. 40 Glock, Alchemist, Twin, Nice's homeboy WAP, Noid, Fly, this new rapper from Jersey named Sam Scarfo, Gotti, Godfather, Chinky, and a bunch of others met up at the G-Unit office a few hours before the event. Around midnight, we hopped into our cars. About 15 cars full of people followed us from the office to the spot. The line to get inside stretched the entire block. My driver was at the wheel of my Yukon Denali with 40 Glock, Nice, Sam Scarfo, WAP, and me riding in my truck. And Havoc also had a driver, and his Range Rover had himself, Fly, Gotti, Alchemist, and Twin. Havoc and I hired this dude named Jay to do security that night. NYPD had the club block completely barricaded. As soon as we pulled up to the corner and double parked, I noticed 3 black dudes, about 30 years old, standing on the corner looking suspicious. I sized them up quickly from head to toe. Their inexpensive outfits and cheap track sneakers. I immediately knew they were undercover cops. The D's, as we call them, detectives. Growing up in the streets of New York, we learned how to spot the D's easy. Examining the clothes, sneakers, attitude, waist, wrist, and neck of a person to judge if they were the D's or not. Cheap clothes, a bulge at the waist or back pocket of the pants, and cheap sneakers or rubber-soled shoes were all dead giveaways. The wrists were important because if a person had a sweatband or a headband wrapped around their wrist, that's a gun squad detective. They wore that as a secret sign to let other cops know they were working undercover. It's usually purple or green, but they switch colors because of people like me who learn these things. The neck was vital because the D's wore silver dog tag style chains with their badges tucked under their shirts and only pulled them out when making an arrest or a stop. So if we saw that chain, or if they had a turtleneck or mock neck shirt, that's a sign. We were used to their elusive ways. The characters on the corner were definitely undercover cops. Our security guy, Jay, walked from the club to our trucks and told us that the club was ready for us to walk in, so we hopped out and headed inside. We all walked through the back entrance of the Roxy, were searched, then went upstairs to the VIP. We ordered shots of Hennessy, bottles of Moet, smoked weed, and kicked it with our guests. DJ On Point, who would fill in for Alchemist when Al was on tour with Eminem, brought us our mics and we walked to the stage. We performed a couple of classics before getting into Blood Money. During Put 'Em in Their Place, a few Queensbridge dudes climbed onto the side of the stage. I heard a commotion behind me and felt people bumping into my back while I was performing. 40 Glock and Nice were arguing with Draws, my man from QB, who always put a smile on my face whenever I saw him. So I gave him a pound and signaled for 40 and Nice to fall back. Drunken Draws danced behind us, waving his hands in the air. It became Mobb Deep featuring Draws live at the Roxy. One of Draws' Queensbridge dudes was standing next to him wearing a long gold chain with a medallion. He took off his chain and tried putting it around Havoc's neck while Havoc was rapping his verse on Put 'Em in Their Place. But the chain got caught on Havoc's sunglasses and tangled onto the microphone. 40 Glock, Gotti, and Nice told him to stop, but the dude kept trying to put his chain on Hav's neck. After his third attempt, 40 punched the dude in the mouth. Then everybody stomped him into the ground. Everybody started pushing and shoving to get out the way, and we had to end the show. Our security, Jay, grabbed Havoc and me and swept us out of the commotion, our boys following. After pulling off in our vehicles, about 6 blocks away from the club, my driver informed me that an unmarked detective car had its police lights on behind us. We pulled over on the West Side Highway around 23rd Street. A young black undercover cop approached the passenger side where I was sitting. Just like I thought, it was one of the 3 dudes from the corner who I thought were D's before we went into the Roxy. I rolled down the window. "Albert Johnson?" he said. "Yes, what's the problem?" "Step out of the car, please." Now I was nervous. First off, the police never walk up to your car and just say your name. That was strange. Secondly, the undercover looked like he was younger than me. These ain't cops. These are some dudes trying to act like cops, I thought. This shit is a setup, a robbery. A blue and white police squad car pulled up, and a sergeant or captain stepped out. "Is everything all right?" he asked. "You're younger than me. These ain't cops. These are some dudes trying to act like cops, I thought. This shit is a setup, a robbery." A blue and white police squad car pulled up, and a sergeant or captain stepped out. "Is everything all right?" he asked. The young black undercover pulled out his badge chain from out his shirt. "Yes, sir," he replied. "We got it under control." That helped calm me down, because now they seemed like they were real cops. "What's the problem?" I got out of the truck and asked. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back," he said. "I'll tell you in a minute." He handcuffed me, then told my driver, "Okay, you can go." They didn't search my truck or harass the other passengers inside. They didn't even read me my rights. This wasn't normal at all. My boys asked, "What's going on? Where you taking them?" "To the Midtown precinct," the cop replied, walking me to the unmarked car where his 2 partners were waiting. "What am I being arrested for?" I asked the cop beside me in the back seat. "You'll find out soon," he said. I calmed myself down with a few deep breaths.